welcome from me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Helen Martin, one of the directors of the Gateway Alliance. Welcome to our first in our series of 2 sessions looking at design and technology this academic year. This session is obviously online, and we're very much hoping that our next session on the 18th of May will be face-to-face, and so we can get a bit more practically involved. But obviously we'll wait and see where we're at by the time we get to May. Fingers crossed we can be back together face-to-face. Really delighted to welcome Leanne back to lead the session for us today. As we've just said, there's a few people that are familiar with Leanne who attended our face-to-face day last academic year. Leanne works with schools all the way across the country, supporting design and technology, science, technology, primary schools and secondary schools. And her background has been, you know, embedded in this area of teaching for many, many years. So she's got a huge amount to share with us and help to draw out some ideas from across the network as well, which will be useful today. There'll be lots of time to hear from Leanne, but we are also going to put you into a couple of breakout rooms as well. So you will have an opportunity to talk to each other as well and to share some practice. And I'm hoping very much that you read the email to say if you've got any long to medium term planning for D&T, if you can bring that with you, that would be great. Just a bit of logistics in terms of Zoom. Some of you I know because I've seen you before on these sorts of sessions, so you'll be familiar with how it works. But if you open up the chat, you should have a little menu bar on your screen somewhere. If you click chat, that'll open up the chat box and you can type into there, just press return and it'll pop up into the box and share your comments, thoughts, questions throughout the session. If you do want to input at all, then you can obviously just unmute your microphone and just you know, interject. Or if you want to click on the participants tab or box, then you can you should have a little thing that says hands up, so you can put your hand up and so we'll know that you've got something to share. So those are a couple of things about functionality for Zoom. As I said at the very, very beginning, if you can keep your microphones on mute during the session, that helps in terms of background noise, but please do keep your cameras on if you're happy to do that. And obviously when you're in the breakout room, it's great to have your cameras on and obviously your microphones on as you're sharing with colleagues there. I am recording the session. Hopefully you picked that up on the email, and we will be able to share this with you afterwards, so you'll be able to sort of watch the session back and sort of you know, recap on things that you've not quite been clear on, or perhaps share bits of this with colleagues in school if there's anything that you particularly feel would be useful to share with other staff within your own school. I think that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Leanne, and then we will get started on the session today. So thanks, okay. Leanne.
No worries. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm just going to find my presentation. So we're here to look at, can you see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, lovely. So we're here to sort of explore the design and technology curriculum. So I've already done a training day with you, and I do remember the exact video that I showed you actually, because Lois was with me supporting at the time. So I'll make sure the video that I showed today is slightly different so colleagues aren't seeing the same. So we're going to look at the broader picture of DT, and we're going to look at early years, Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. You know my name, and I've had a really good introduction from Helen. This is a brief part of my background. I trained in furniture design in 2001, became a teacher with the naivety of doing the design work on the side, not realizing how tough a job in teaching was. But I've not left teaching. I did leave my teaching job back in 2017 to set up my own company to continue to teach, but on my own terms. So I teach lots of children in primary and secondary, lots of different settings. I work for various people, as you can see. So I've used images of the different people that I work for. I run lots of training, but I also work with lots of organisations that inspire young people about science, technology, engineering and maths. So DT is my biggest passion. So I've just been given the job actually of Year 5 teacher on Oak Academy. So you'll be seeing some Oak Academy lessons in the new year from January. So that's a really good resource for you in terms of DT. So what we're going to look at during this session is some of the things that we've looked at previously. So we're going to revisit some of the things that we need to understand about DT. So we're going to revisit the bigger picture, the needs of the curriculum and why we teach DT. I'm going to share with you some updates for the subject, and then we're going to look at planning your perfect DT curriculum. So hopefully you've all brought examples of your DT curriculum at the moment, And please don't worry if it's not perfect at the moment. I don't think our planning ever is. It's always a working document. So we're hoping once we've looked at the planning session of this meeting, that you're going to go into breakout spaces to have an opportunity to share your planning with colleagues in a smaller group. I'm going to then hopefully, I say hopefully, it's all reliant on technology. I'm going to hopefully pop into your various breakout spaces and we're going to discuss your planning. And hopefully, if you've got any questions, you can ask me questions about your planning, but we're going to work on your main plans. And then I'm going to talk you through lots of resources that's available to you to support your DT curriculum. Some of the resources I use that are absolutely awesome. I'm going to share those with you. But really important at the end of the meeting that we find out what it is you want from your next steps in terms of your training needs. So we've created a short poll to find out what it is you need in terms of your next steps for DT. So hopefully that training session in May will be face-to-face. That's why I want your feedback. If it's not face-to-face, it's not a problem. I can do everything online. It just means that we might need to sort out certain resources. So first of all, then we're just going to look at the bigger picture, why DT. So some of these slides might be familiar with the colleagues that were at the last meeting. I won't apologise because actually it's good to revisit them, but it's really important for everyone to see it. So just to recap what it is we need to teach. So we're just going to look at the importance and values. We're going to have a quick look at the curriculum, and it is going to be a quick look. So colleagues that are new to the subject, I'd really recommend after this meeting that you take the curriculum document and you read through it slowly and highlight through the key learning outcomes that you need to address when delivering DT. I'm going to whiz through another document called the minimum requirements again. Previously in the meeting, we had time to fill in that document. We're not going to get that time today. So again, that's something for you to complete in your own time if you haven't done that already. We're going to just recap the 6 principles, talk a little bit about constraints and your vision for DT. So really, really quickly, what is DT? In one word, what word would you use? In the chat, could you please write down what word you'd use to describe DT? So this is where you've got to figure out where the chat button is. And I can't reach my chat button now because I'm sharing. So I'm going to rely on Helen to tell me. I can't see the chat at all.
Well,
Okay, I can.
Can you? Good.
Can I?
Creative, Catherine said.
Creative, definitely. In fact, I think that's one of the most important things about D&T, being creative. Yeah.
Design.
Yeah, design.
Limitless. I like that.
Oh, I like that. So these words are words that you could use: limitless, creative, design.
Designing of products, innovation.
Innovation, yes.
Inventing. Imagination.
Yeah.
Open-ended, resourceful.
Yes.
Ideas, problem solving.
Brilliant, yeah.
Curiosity.
Nice.
Creating. Non-ability grouped. Nice.
Yes.
Collaborative.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Lovely. So you've got the right idea. So a lot of these key terms could be what you would use as part of your department vision. So every subject should have a vision. So an inspector might ask you what your vision is, and you might have that in your intention statement, but that might be a little bit wordy for children and staff to remember. So it's really good to think about what your vision is for DT at your school. Now, when I introduce DT to children, I ask them to identify something that's been designed or engineered. And I ask them to identify a product. Now, what sort of products do you think they might identify? You can shout up if you want, or put it in the chat.
Shall I feed some back? So there's food and toys, vehicles, bicycle.
Yeah. And actually, by identifying toys, you don't often get them do that. They always, when I find, and try this yourself when you ask the children, a lot of them point to really high-tech things like projectors and laptops and cars and bridges, but I hold up a piece of paper and say, has that been designed and engineered? And they go, and then they, we agree, yes, it has. So the point I'm making is everything in and around our environment has been designed, has been manufactured, and has been engineered. Now, I'm not going to show you this video, so I'm going to stop sharing right now and show you where the video source is. But this video we've used before, so it's in the slides. I would recommend colleagues watch it. It's a 10-minute video, but I know that there are colleagues that have already watched that one. So you can see my screen now. I'm actually on the Design and Technology Association website. I'm on a channel called D&T TV. And on here, there's lots of videos that you can use in your leading of design and technology. So I've gone to channels and I've gone to DT planning, but there's lots of different sections. And the video I'm going to show you is by Tony Ryan, who is the new CEO of the association. And it is going to play. Yeah, there we go.
So I guess the first question we have to ask is, are you really teaching design and technology? Design and technology provides a really important foundation for learning about the made world and our relationship to objects within it. In primary schools, when taught correctly, it can give pupils the start they need to really excel when they move to secondary level. D&T is so much more than a practical subject, and more than just a means of applying what is learnt within literacy, numeracy and science. To deliver design and technology in ways that benefit pupils and allow them to flourish, certain principles need to be followed. A very useful definition of what D&T is: children should be designing something for somebody for some purpose. Simple craft making without considering the use and purpose of the end items, such as a cardboard Viking shield or a Tudor house, are not valid design and technology. To make sure pupils' designing and making activities are valid, you should ensure that the following 6 principles are met. Firstly, and perhaps most importantly, is the user, who the products are actually for. The student should be able to identify with somebody or a group of people who are going to use this product. Secondly, the purpose. What tasks or function will the product perform? Third, functionality. How are the products actually going to work? What do they need to do to be successful? The next stage really is the design decisions. We have to give students the opportunity to make their own choices, and that might mean making mistakes as well, but mistakes aren't terminal and actually can be part of the learning process. Innovation is a key part of design and technology. Students have to be encouraged to innovate, to try things that are different. And finally, authenticity. How believable or real the products will be to the children and to the end user. In your planning, make sure you use the star diagram to make sure that each aspect has been considered. For example, designing and making a bag for an elderly shopper, designing and making Christmas themed biscuits. Each product will have a different profile, with each principle emphasised to a lesser or a greater degree. Over the course of a year, you should use this evaluation to ensure that each area of D&T has been adequately addressed. The star diagram can also be used to assess students' work and good classroom practice. Here at the Association, we've got plenty of guidance on this and other aspects of design and technology. The projects on a page scheme of work, progression framework and associated resources give teachers the scaffolding they need to ensure that quality design and technology teaching and learning takes place within your school.
So that's a really, really good resource. Now, the video I was going to show you is actually in promoting DT. And it's what is DT. So that's a really, really good one. But it's a longer video, but it's really, really good. But colleagues within this room have already watched that one. And this is a really good one. So there's some really fantastic videos for you to show either to your staff or to the children to help inspire them about design and technology. And that one is my particular favourite, that what is DT. So, as Tony already said, a simple definition for you to remember when children are doing design and technology: are they designing something for somebody for some purpose? That's really key thing to remember. It's a really simple definition. So we're just going to take a look at the curriculum now. So you should have been sent a link with all of the documents that you need for this meeting. So I'd ask you to access that now. So you should have a copy of the design and technology curriculum. It'd be useful to make notes on. So if you have got it printed, great. But if not, don't worry. That's something you can do later on. Or you can look at it electronically at the same time as I talk you through it.
Yeah, and just to say, I've just posted that link in the chat. So you'll be able to click on that link now.
Right, yes.
So if anybody having any problems with that, please, put something in the chat and I can see if I can help.
So I'll give you a couple of minutes just to find it. We're just going to go through and do a quick walkthrough of the curriculum document. So the first thing we're going to look at then is the purpose of study. So design and technology, as it explains in the purpose of study, is a really rigorous, inspiring and practical subject. So you need to see it as that. It's a subject where children, and we've already said this, haven't we? Because you've used the word creativity was used first. It's a subject where children are using their creativity and imagination to design and make products for real and relevant problems. And that's really key, that the problems that they're solving are real and relevant. You need to give children the opportunity to explore designing and making products linked to a variety of contexts. And you need to get them to think about their own and others' needs, wants, and values. And the subject should help them to acquire a broad range of subject knowledge. And it's written in the curriculum that you need to draw upon disciplines such as maths, science, engineering, computing, and art. But it is a subject where pupils will learn how to take risks, be resourceful, innovative, inspiring, and capable citizens. So that is just a quick synopsis of the purpose of study. Then when you take a look at the curriculum document, there are 4 main things that you need to deliver in design and technology. So if you compare Key Stage 1 to 2, and this is why I've asked you to get your own copy, because some of you might not be able to read the writing on this screen. But it's just a really good tool to put them side to side just to see the key differences. So you need to teach children how to design, make, evaluate, and you need to teach them about technical knowledge. So in terms of design, you're teaching them various ways in which they can communicate their ideas. So it might be sketching, it might be annotating, it might be talking about their ideas, it might be modelling their ideas, creating prototypes, creating more structured drawings in Key Stage 2 compared to Key Stage 1, such as cross-sectional and exploded diagrams, creating prototypes, and using various tools to create ideas, such as computer-aided design. So when you're teaching them about designing, you've also got to teach them about what we need from design. So teach them about the fact that designs need to be purposeful, functional, and appealing. And they need to suit the needs of the users that they're aimed at. And you need to teach them about design criteria. But what you need to think about when you're planning from early years right through to Key Stage 2 is you need to think about the progression of these skills. In terms of making, you need to give children the opportunity to select from a range of tools and equipment to be able to make an end product. So showing them how to prepare material, to mark out material, measure, cut, shape and join. And then at Key Stage 2, you're exposing them to a wider range of tools. So over their time at primary school, you're obviously exposing them to that wider range of tools and equipment. And it's the same with materials. So you're giving them the opportunity to select from. And that select is really clear. So we need to try not, I know it's hard because of the constraints in technology, but we need to make sure we're giving them the opportunity to select. So they've got a choice of materials and a choice of tools and equipment where possible. So we're getting them to select from a wide range of materials at Key Stage 1, including construction materials, textiles and ingredients in relation to food. And then at Key Stage 2, we're giving them the opportunity to be able to select from a wider range. But at Key Stage 2, we want them to consider the properties, the working properties and the aesthetic qualities of those materials. Then when we look at the word evaluate, we need to give children the tools to be able to explore and evaluate a range of products and evaluate their own ideas and ideas of others. And then in Key Stage 2, we need to deepen their understanding. So we need them to be able to develop their own criteria and compare their ideas to their own set of criteria. But we also need to get them to explore key events and individuals in design and technology and think about how these key individuals have helped shape the design and technology world that we live in. In terms of technical knowledge, this seems to take over us as technology teachers. But this is only a small part of it. But we need to give them a broad technical knowledge. So at Key Stage 2, we need to be teaching them about structures and mechanisms. And we need to give them the ability to build structures and explore shape principally, and how we can consider how to make shapes stronger, stiffer and more stable. In terms of mechanisms, you need to get them to explore a range of mechanisms. So the examples that are given, it doesn't mean that you have to deliver every example. It's just giving you those examples so you know what you're delivering. In terms of technical knowledge at Key Stage 2, if you look at the comparison for the first bullet point in structures, the difference is at Key Stage 2, you're giving them the opportunity to look at how they might strengthen, stiffen and reinforce their structures. But you're also giving them a context that allows them to explore more complex structures compared to what they did in Key Stage 1. And then the difference between Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 mechanisms is the word mechanical system. So we go from mechanisms, individual mechanisms. So a mechanism is where you're taking a material and a component and you're joining them together to create movement. And there are different ways in which we can create movement. We can get things that swing around, move from side to side, up and down, and we can explore those different types of movement. At Key Stage 2, you're getting children to design mechanical systems. So the jump there is you're getting them to design a mechanism. So you're joining components and materials to make things move, but there are two mechanisms working together. So it's working as a system. So one mechanism is connected to another in order for it to work. So that could be an electric vehicle. It could be a robotic arm. It could be a Ferris wheel, where we need to connect one mechanism to another to allow that to actually work as a system. So it sounds quite technical, but you know, if I show you some examples, hopefully it will break that down a little bit for you. And then the next bullet point, which is different to Key Stage 1, you need to begin teaching them about electrical systems and how to build series circuits and how to select from a range of components. Now, although electricity is embedded in the science curriculum, DT is about applying that circuit. So what we don't want to see is we don't want to see children just building a light bulb circuit and the light bulb turning on. As exciting as that could be, we want them to apply that to an end product. So it's about using what they've learned in science and apply it to a product. And the other thing in Key Stage 2, which is often not taught as much as people would like, is the understanding of computing to program, monitor and control their products. So children will learn about programming and control in computing. They'll probably use things like Scratch. They'll use programmable things like Bbots. I don't know what the alternative, I forgot what the alternative is called for Key Stage 2. But design and technology and control, it's about making something from scratch and actually controlling the movement of that product. So that is something, if you feel it's an area that, you know, is missing in your curriculum, that's something we could look at maybe if we wanted in May. But I know that the session we did previously, we did look at control briefly, didn't we? And then the other part of the curriculum relates to cooking and nutrition. So they've written a statement slightly separately. So when you're teaching cooking and nutrition, you are still teaching children to design, make, evaluate. And then in terms of the technical knowledge, this is what you've got to teach them. So at Key Stage 1, you're teaching them about the principles of a healthy and varied diet, and you're getting them to understand where food comes from, and you get them to prepare dishes. And then at Key Stage 2, you're getting them to apply the principles of a healthy and varied diet. So they're actually preparing and cooking a range of dishes, but considering the principles of a healthy and varied diet. So it does say savoury dishes, and that does not mean you can't, do sweet dishes. It just says predominantly savoury dishes, using a range of cooking techniques. And obviously the reason for that is because a lot of sweeter dishes are probably not as healthy, and they won't offer us that varied diet that we need. But the other thing you need to teach at Key Stage 2 is understand seasonality and know where and how the ingredients, variety of ingredients, are grown. And like I've said, the association are now doing a host of lessons on Oak Academy. So all of these objectives will be delivered, and they'll start to be delivered from January. So that'll be a really good tool that you can use in your classroom, actually. So that's the curriculum document. The other document I'm going to show you is something called the minimum requirements for effective practice. It says in Key Stage 1 and 2. There is an additional document for early years, but I see this document as early years right through to Key Stage 1. But it talks about the minimum requirements that's expected for you to deliver during designing technology. So this document you've all got access to. So what I'd recommend you do is actually access that document. I'm going to come out of this screen now, if I can. I lost my cursor. Here we go. Apologies. I can't see my cursor at all. I can't stop sharing. There we go. Let's try that. Right. Okay. I'm back in business. I've been teaching a lot on Teams, and I feel like I've mastered Teams now. So this is just taking me up a notch. So here we go. So let me show you this document here. So this is the minimum requirement checklist. Can everyone see that on the screen? Or Helen, if you could let me know.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so this is the minimum requirement checklist. I'm going to talk you through it. If you are quick on your feet, if you haven't filled this in before, it's worth doing. If you have filled it in before, it might be worth reviewing where you're at with this. So this would be a good indicator for showing progress. Now, what seems to be missing from this document are the colours. So green for yes, yellow for partially, red for no. So it should be green, yellow and red. So this is a checklist just to check that you are delivering all of the aspects of that curriculum. So the first checklist is, does each project or each unit of work address the 6 principles in DT? So when you're delivering DT, you need to give children the opportunity to have an end user. Make sure that the product is purposeful, it has a function, giving the children opportunities to make some design decisions, gives them the opportunity to be innovative, and it gives them the opportunity to be authentic. Now, you may find that every single project might cover this, but not cover it well. Let's take authenticity, for instance. In the past, I've made combat vehicles. So what they've made is they've made combat vehicles out of cardboard. So in reality, it's not authentic, is it? It's not something I could sell or buy. What would be authentic would be a bag that you would make in textiles that you could actually then sell at a school fair, or a food product that you could resell. That would be authentic. So you might not address all of these in each unit as well as you'd like, but if you remember back to the video of Tony, he spoke about the star diagrams and the use of those, so that by the end of the key stage, you've addressed all of those 6 principles. So they're embedded in the project somewhere, but by the end of it, you've developed them all well. The other thing that you need to cover, and is in the minimum requirements, is your balance of these 3 tasks. Now, I've put this on the slide, and it's probably better presented on the slide. But the first things is, are you giving children the opportunity to do investigative and evaluative activities? And they're called IEAs. So that means giving the children an opportunity to investigate products, evaluate products, investigate users. So at the moment, for this food technology lesson I'm doing, they're investigating their user, their individual or group of individuals. And then the next lesson, they'll investigate food products by tasting them, they'll evaluate them. So this is all finding out about the products we're going to design. So that's investigative and evaluative activities. The other thing that should be embedded in your planning is focused tasks. Now, in design and technology, children are often learning new skills and new knowledge. So a focused task is teaching them about how to do something. So if you were teaching food technology at Key Stage 1, you would need to teach them about food hygiene. You'd also need to teach them about how to cut and prepare a food item. So you would teach them different cutting techniques. So you would carry out a focused task. So focused tasks are to help build skills. And then what you then do, those two tasks would then build into a design and make an evaluative assignment. So once you've given them the knowledge they've investigated, once you've given them knowledge from doing lots of focused practical tasks, you then give them the opportunity to make decisions and design and make their own product. The other requirement is that you should, all children should have 8 to 12 hours for each unit of work in design and technology. So that's once a term, 8 to 12 hours. So that's something you might want to review and look at. So you should be teaching one project or unit of work in each class, each term. And you should ensure there's adequate curriculum coverage. So when you're looking at your planning, look back at the national curriculum document and look back at those objectives. Now, one here, it's listed the technical requirements, but it's not listed the design requirements, the make requirements, and the evaluative requirements. So that's something to consider as well. So obviously the difference is here between Key Stage 1 and 2, but what's missing from this list is the teaching of control and computer-aided design. So that's just one thing for you to review. The other thing to think about is you should be delivering at least one DT food project per year, to include cooking and nutrition. So I spoke to a colleague this week that said in her school, one teacher felt she was doing food, but actually they were just baking cakes for an event. But what they weren't doing is they weren't looking and reflecting on cooking and nutrition. It wasn't predominantly savoury items. So it's all about teaching them life skills, isn't it, when we're teaching food technology?
Leanne, can I just interject? Martin's just asked a question on the chat about food, so I thought it'd be relevant now. Just saying that we're being told that due to COVID not to do cooking at present. Is this correct?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I can't go against your head teacher's advice. They're obviously doing that to play things safe at the moment. So things are looking very different at the moment. So in terms of COVID, obviously, if things on this list can't be done at the moment, that's due to COVID. But once, obviously, we've overcome that massive hurdle, we need to resume. Because if your head teacher's not allowing you to teach food because of COVID, then I suppose you need to have a discussion or at least prove that it can be done safely. Because I know some secondary schools have stopped practical in design and technology, but it is possible, isn't it? There just needs to be a bigger risk assessment in terms of preparing and clearing up afterwards. I suppose the problem with teaching food in a primary is that you've got a shared facility. So that shared facility might either be a cooking trolley or a food room, and that's the issue. So if you can prove to your head teacher that that can be sanitised before and after, and there's no risk of transmission of COVID, then I'm sure they'll be fine. But otherwise, I don't know where you stand there. So I don't know if I've answered that.
It looks like it would be different in different schools, as you say, Leanne. At the moment, it depends on the analysis of that risk assessment or that, you know. So yeah, but I think, you know, it's about what you can focus on, what you know needs to be covered when you can get back to that sort of approach.
And I've taught food in a classroom, so you could teach things like, you know, you could, like, for instance, I did a Mediterranean vegetable, and the ovens that they had, because they had a trolley that you brought in, and the ovens just weren't like, they looked like they might burn the school down. So I brought little aluminium dishes, and the children, so the only tools that I needed in the classroom, obviously sanitizer for the tables beforehand, and this was pre-COVID, but standard, isn't it, in food, to cleanse the surfaces, aprons to keep them obviously clean, knives and cutting boards, chopping boards, sorry. So if you've got all of those things and you can do that in your classroom and you can clean the tables properly, then it can be done in the classroom. So they actually learned they had to have access to a sink. They learned how to wash the vegetables, cut the vegetables, arrange the vegetables, and they took the dish home, and I sent a list of instructions home on how to cook and prepare that dish. So, you know,
And
there is.
Catherine's just asked about allergies as well, about how what will your advice be when working in a classroom. She's got several children in her class with a range of severe allergies. How would you go about cooking with them?
Well, obviously, if it's a severe allergy, I just make sure I'd not use the ingredients related. It depends on the allergy. So if it's a nut allergy, I just wouldn't have nuts existing anywhere in the school, to be honest. It depends on the severity, doesn't it? So yeah, I found out the allergies of those individual children and made sure that I did not take any of those food products into the classroom. So I got consent from the parents beforehand. So if you already know their allergies, you do need to, again, risk assess that. It's really, really, really important, actually. But I think allergies are fastly evolving, aren't they? And there are lots of them, but it does differ in severity. So very good question. But again, it needs a risk assessment. It does depend on the allergy. So is there any allergy that you're concerned about?
Catherine, do you want to unmute, or is it a general?
I've got one child who's got severe nut allergies, and then I've got one child who's gluten-free. I've got vegans, vegetarians, and I've got this one child who I think is allergic to pretty much everything. So I'm just a bit hesitant about it because it just seems to be the class is just a lot with them with it.
I suppose what we need to do is model it and actually teach the children about those different dietary needs, because I'm a celiac. I'm one of those that no one invites to a food, a restaurant or a party. But I suppose it's actually a perfect tool for teaching about dietary needs within your class. So I'd actually do a lesson on different dietary needs and ask them if they'd be happy to share what they can and can't eat and what would happen. But in terms of the nut allergy, I just make sure there's no nuts on site. In terms of gluten, it's teaching them about cross-contamination. So, I wouldn't stop using bread, but I'd have one area for bread preparation and another area for making sure there's no wheat in the area. You could try and cook gluten-free products, but bread is really, really tricky to cook gluten-free. And then obviously in terms of vegan and vegetarian, then you just, again, taking out of the product what they can't eat. So obviously with vegan, it is tricky, isn't it? What key stage is it? 2. Oh, 1. Okay. So 1, you can really just stick with vegetables and fruits, to be honest. And when it comes to like preparing sandwiches and things like that, then that's an easy one to overcome because you're not preparing the bread yourself. But obviously it'd be a costly exercise, won't it, to get different bread types, especially gluten-free, and it'll be stale in a day. So just be mindful of that. Okay, hopefully that's helped. But I'm not a food expert. I just happen
I'm just conscious of time, so I'm wondering whether if there are specific individual questions that people can stop on at the end and perhaps brains.
Really good questions though, and actually fab questions. So yeah, we'll come back onto that. So where was I? Right, minimum budget, no, programming and CAD at Key Stage 2. I'd come on to that. And then the guidance, and I know this is probably not possible at the minute with COVID, and I'm going to have to go and turn my light on in a minute because I've realised I've gone really dark. Minimum budget, £3.70 per pupil. So that's what you should have really to be able to deliver design and technology as well as you can. Obviously, I know that that's not always possible, but we'll talk about how you can overcome those constraints later. DT should be taught principally by teachers. If you're a subject leader, you should have time for CPD. And then the other 2 things, which are an eye-opener for a lot of teachers at primary, is if you're teaching food, at least one member of staff should be trained in level 2 food safety. And that shouldn't be the lady in or the chef in the kitchen. It's got to be a teacher that's delivering it in the classroom. And that person that's trained in level 2 food safety needs to train other staff that are teaching food. And that's the same with health and safety. So to overcome that, I actually ensure all staff are trained. So all of my staff had level 2 food safety, whether they taught food or not. And then all of them did health and safety training. So I'm going to stop sharing that now and go back to my presentation. So I'm just mindful of time now. So in terms of constraints, knowledge and training can be a constraint. So I'm going to talk through some strategies and some resources that you can use to help you. Apprehension of staff, not wanting to do it, not feeling confident. So again, that goes back to training. Time, I know time's an issue. And I know cost is a really big issue. So we'll talk about that and address those constraints as we go through. Now, I'm just going to look at the time now that Helen said that, because what I want you to think about now, and I'm going to give you a few minutes, especially while I go and turn my light on, it gets really dark quickly. You should each have a vision of what you want your children to learn and develop in design and technology. So you should really have a vision statement. I was talking to a school this week that has the acronym, uses the acronym SHINE, for children to be successful. I can't remember the other one. Honest. What's the other one? Independent, nurture, and I can't remember what the E was. But they had words that were linked to their school vision. So what they've done with that SHINE acronym is then created a sentence linked to design and technology. So, for instance, sentence for successful, children will be successful in design and technology by exploring and experimenting. So that's one example. So have a little think, note some keywords down that you'd use in a vision statement in terms of your design and technology curriculum, while I just go and pop the light on. So, and this is something maybe we can relook at when we come back in May, but you do need a vision. You need something that's displayed. Like this particular school didn't remember their school vision, to be honest. So that's why I said link it to your school vision, because that will bring us back to the school vision, which is SHINE. So if we remember SHINE, we can remember then the words relating to technology and SHINE, or the words relating to the school vision and technology. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there because we are going to need to move on to planning. So we give you the opportunity to discuss with each other. So we've looked at the curriculum, we've looked at the minimum requirements, we've looked at your vision for DT, which is something we do need to formulate, but it's good to have a proper discussion about that. What we're going to do now is just look at some updates from design and technology, just to update you on what things are happening. So I've got a couple of updates. So the Design and Technology Association currently have a membership offer that includes projects on a page, which is really useful. So projects on a page is a resource that I'm going to show you in a moment, which is all of your medium planning done. I'm going to flick through these. In terms of health and safety training, if you're worried about that, this is where you go to get health and safety consultants. So you go onto the Data Design and Technology website. I've put the link there. And if you follow that link, that will take you to the consultancy directory. You can click on health and safety trainer, search by area, and you can get a consultant into your school, or you can get them to help, like obviously work with you at the moment and work part remote, part face-to-face to deliver some health and safety training. Or actually, Helen, it's something maybe you could do through the Alliance. I don't know.
Yeah, if there's of interest, if people put on their evaluation form, we can look to organise.
Yeah, because actually that would be better value, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so that's health and safety to help you. In terms of further health and safety advice, what I use is the CLEAPS website. So this is really useful for giving you model risk assessments for teaching design and technology. So again, you've got a copy of these slides as well. So you should be able to just open up the slides, click on the link, and it'll take you there. Food hygiene. Now, I've looked at a range of courses, and the one that I'm actually due an update. So I'm going to do this particular training. It's £24 plus VAT to get a level 2 food safety training online, because that seems to be the best way at the moment. You do get discount if you put 10 staff or more in. So there you go. There's a link to potential food training for you. I'll let you know if you want feedback on how I get on. Okay. There's lots of CPD happening at the association at the moment for you to be aware of, and lots of help for supporting you with using resources, such as using projects on the page. There's a free webinar that you can join, and they've also got a couple of e-learning courses as well. National Local Academy, I've just said that DT are now going to be live on there from January, so you'll be able to access those resources as a teacher and use them in the classroom. So, use the videos and the demonstrations that are on there in your classroom. That's what I would do. So that's a really good resource that's going to be live from Jan, and you should be able to get copies of the planning so you can see the planning over time. And there's just some links to the association's social media for you to be able to follow them. So so you can keep up to date with anything happening in design and technology. Okay, right, we're going to look at planning now. So we're going to look at building your perfect design and technology curriculum. So I'm going to show you some examples. I'm actually going to talk you through the progression document quickly. We'll show you where it is, and then we're going to break off and you're going to share your planning with each other and basically share ideas. So the progression framework is in your links. So you can use this to give you a little bit more depth in terms of building upon what you already know from the national curriculum, but it gives you more detail on what you should see in each of the strands. So what you should see in designing, making, technical knowledge and evaluating, what it should look like at Key Stage 1 and what it should look like at Key Stage 2. So it just gives you a little bit more guidance and help if you're finding it difficult to interpret the curriculum. So that's a really useful document to cross-reference. Some teachers have actually edited that and just used that as their long-term plan. I'm just going to show you some examples of long-term plans from the schools I've been working with. So this was one of the Shropshire schools that I've worked with. So this long-term plan, as you can see, is showing the coverage of the technical knowledge. So they've used the word textiles to show where they're teaching textiles, food where they're teaching food, and where they've put the word workshop, that relates to their teaching of structures, mechanisms, control, electronics and CAD. So you can see here that they've obviously colour coded it to make it clear. So you can see in food, in foundation stage, they're naming a variety of foods, they're understanding the need for a healthy diet, and their actual practical activity is called fantastic fruits. And then in year 1, the progression is actually then looking at selecting from and using a range of tools and equipment, and they're looking at measuring and weighing, and they're looking at preparing fruit and veg. So you can see how it develops from project to project. So with textiles as well. Okay, so hopefully that's a useful aid. Is that a comment, Helen? No. So you can see there where it progresses from early years right through to year 3, year 4, year 5, and then again year 6. So hopefully that's a really useful document for you to look at, is some examples, and they've just made it clear under each how they've addressed the learning objectives. Another example here, which is slightly different, so they've put it in, they've kept the discipline in the autumn term, spring term and summer term. So every autumn term, children are exploring textiles. Every spring term, children are exploring food. And every summer term, they've called it product design and engineering. So it's up to you what you call it. But you can see here the progression. So early years, they're making a pop-up card, and then that progresses to them doing a robotic arm and then working towards an electric vehicle in year 6. And you can see there where the textiles project progresses from being making a puppet right through to making a cushion and then a t-shirt stroke footwear. This one here is a different example again. So it's just to show you that there's no right or wrong way, but you've got to just show how you've addressed the curriculum, how progression is shown, and it's got to be clear for you to understand and your class teachers to understand. So here they've used the strands, designing, making, evaluating, and they've actually mapped it across the years like that. So that might be a little bit difficult for you to sort of map whether you're covering textiles, structures. It's up to you, but it works for that particular school. And they've actually used some comments from the progression document to help them write that document as well. Okay, so I've got some examples here which I've shown you before. So here's an example of how you would show progression if you were teaching structures. So if you're teaching structures, you're predominantly teaching them about shape, 2D and 3D shape. So from early years, you'd teach them about the use of materials to make example shapes. Key stage 1, you'd get them to make freestanding structures. Key stage 2, you'd get them to create a more complex structure. So you're looking at giving them a set height or a set context, but you're looking at that structure being able to hold a weight. So that could be anything. It could be a building, a bridge. But what I've shown you on this slide is how it links to the application of learning from science and maths and the T and E relate to technology and engineering. And here's an example for mechanical systems. So this example is using a basic chassis, and it's showing how you might progress from early years to designing a chassis that's a bit more animated. So that was an animated toy, children pushing and pulling it physically, to then using a chassis to actually technically think about how you could make that movement without using your hand, to then moving towards more complex use of electronics. So I know that I've showed those to colleagues in the past. Now, I'm not going to flick through all these next slides, but I am going to ask you to make reference to them when you're having your conversations in your planning meeting. So these next slides relate to the resource that I spoke about from the association, which is called Projects on a Page. They have created a project which shows progression right from year 1 all the way to year 6. So you can see the list of projects that they've got there. It goes all the way from mechanisms, structures, food and textiles, and they're actually written by primary teachers, so which your medium term plan done, but it also has, if you look at this example here, this year 1 and 2 structures, the medium term plan is on the back, and then on the other side, you've got pictorial examples of how you might actually build a chassis. So if you've got a teacher that's really unsure about how to teach wheel and axle, this medium term plan will help you. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now. So what I'd like you to do, in fact, I'm going to stop sharing. Here we go. What I'd like you to do now, so you've got lots of examples here that I've put on there. Here's an example from me, which you've actually got in your links. And I'm not going to show you that example because we haven't got much time. So, oh yeah, I've got a lot. There we go. So all of these slides before this slide here, please use and make reference to, because it shows you how I've demonstrated how a project would be planned to show progression. It shows you some medium-term planning. And we can have a look at one of those once you've had a chance to have a chat in your groups. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is, hopefully you've got a copy of your planning with you. I want to give you an opportunity to go into your breakout rooms and discuss and share your planning. It might be an opportunity to go, oh my God, we don't teach food, or we don't teach structures, or we don't teach textiles, and talk about that and get ideas from each other. But when you're looking at planning, reflect on the fact whether it meets the national curriculum needs, does it address the minimum requirements, and does it show progression? And if it doesn't at the moment, that doesn't matter because it's a working document. So I would like to have enough time to come into those rooms to be able to speak with you and get feedback. So Helen, you've set up the rooms, haven't you?
I have, and we're ready to go.
We have got a little bit more time, Helen, because I don't think I'm going to need quite as long at the end, but...
Okay, so are we going to say 20 minutes and then see how we go?
Yeah, we'll say 20 minutes and see how we get on, because I've obviously got to go into each room and I want the opportunity to speak to everyone. It's a bit awkward in a big group, isn't it?
That's it. I've split people into 5 breakout rooms. So I've split people, so there's about 4 to 5 people in each room. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Can I just double check that everybody has got access to the Dropbox and all their own planning to look at? Do you want to stop sharing your screen, Leanne, and then we can see people's faces, and then if they give us a shout if they've got any problems with that. Is everybody okay? Ready to go into the breakout room with the documents that they need? Fab.
I don't have my own planning, sorry.
That's okay. Have you got access to the Dropbox where the example plans are, Helen?
Yeah.
Perfect, that's fine then, so you can have a look at those and discuss.
And even if you've not got your examples with you, hopefully you know what they look like and we can discuss them. It's just a chance for you to sort of share best practice and talk with one another, really, to get ideas.
Breakout rooms are literally just table discussions. Think about it, if we were sitting in a room together, it's just a table discussion, really. So it's just putting you in a group which is smaller so you can talk together.
Okay, thank you.
Any problems, give us a shout, but hope you have a good discussion anyway. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Back over to you, Leanne.
Okay, so hopefully you found that useful. I did only get to meet with 3 different teams in the end, but hopefully you had a chance to have a chat. The things I picked up on were risk assessment. So I am going to share an example risk assessment with Helen, who will pop it in the Dropbox file. Straight after this meeting, I'll do that for you. But is there anything else that anyone wanted to discuss with the whole group?
I was going to ask, have you got any suggestions for what, like resource-wise, to use for the kind of computer-aided design and kind of control elements?
Yes. So for computer-aided design, I would use Silhouette Studio, which is what I use because it's free, and also Tinkercad.
Shall I try and look at these links? Are they websites?
Yeah. We should have enough time. I didn't put them on my resources list, actually. There's so many resources, isn't there? It's knowing what. And then for control, I would use Crumble boards. I'll try and put that. Yeah, you've got it. Well done, Helen.
Crumble board.
You get them from Redfern Electronics. Redfern Electronics.
Got that. Right, let me post that.
And then I'd also look at the microbit, but not necessarily buying them. You can actually go online and control the visible microbit on there. That's something I'm teaching as part of the Oak Academy, actually, year 5. But not till the second half terms. It's food first.
Who was the first? Which one was the first CAD?
Silhouette Studio.
Silhouette Studio. I'll just bring that up as well. And then I can share all these on the members area afterwards, so people have got all the links.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to share some sort of tips and tricks of places that I'd look for resources for planning and really enhancing your DT curriculum. Then we're going to look at getting feedback from you in terms of what your needs are for the next session. And then we should have enough time for question and answer at the end. Because I know people don't ask questions in case it goes on. So beyond our time. So here we go. Let's pop that there. Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through some DT resources that I use. So I've already mentioned the Design and Technology Association, but they have got a resource shop. There you go. The other resource link, which is absolutely fantastic, is the Institute of Engineering and Technology. If you click on that link, it will take you to their page. I'm going to show you these in a moment because they're absolutely fantastic. The Institute of Engineering and Technology, they've got a primary resource page. So they've got loads and loads of resources, competitions. They've got a great poster pack full of posters that you can order that's pre-printed for you relating to science and design and technology. So posters on electronic components and things like that, and forces. So that's a really, really good one. And if you want to sort of search these while you're listening, that's fine. I've actually got a YouTube channel that is started when obviously COVID happened because I couldn't visit my school. So on there so far, I've got lots of short videos for really focused practical tasks linked to mechanisms, structures. I've got some CAD tutorials on there on how to use Silhouette Studio. And I've also got a couple of resources that I've created that I'm now they're available on my website as well. So yeah, but in terms of the YouTube channel, that's something we're carrying on. So I've got a lady that works with me and she's just done a whole batch of science tutorials and videos. But if there's anything in particular that you want, we're always open to shout outs. They're only short videos and the hope is that it kind of helps you as a teacher or your class teachers, but also you could play them in your classrooms to sort of help the children. So that's linked to my site and the resources on there. I've got some I've only put 4 projects on there at the moment, but I'm just seeing if it works, and if not, there we are. But the other resource I've created most recently was for another company called March's Centre of Manufacturing and Technology and Income. I actually created a primary challenge, and the resources I created for them I think are really useful as well. and they're downloadable from their site. And I've created 4 activity sheets that you could actually directly use with the students on how to make various mechanisms to make pop-up cards. The next resource I'd recommend is a host of resources that's been developed by the Design Museum. So they've got lots of interactive videos for design and make activities. So they've got one on designing and making a musical instrument, for instance. They've got lesson plans, and they've got mini challenges that you can utilise as well. And that's one of their examples, actually. But you can see here the way they've videoed it, they're just demonstrating how to take scrap card and turn it into a working product. And a lot of the projects that I've done, actually, those of you that know me, you know that I work on a very, very low budget. So I work with corrugated cardboard and kebab skewers, string, anything I can find really. But the skill that I'm teaching children is how to sort of manipulate material and how to measure it to create it into a moving product. So you'll see that from the mechanisms ones. This one is also a really fantastic site called Little Inventors. And there's lots of challenges on there that you could set as like home learning activities for, you know, homework, if you set homework for children. And I'm going to write something down so I don't forget it. So this particular site is all about obviously children inventing new things. So they encourage them to draw and create new innovative products that children can't always have the skills or the tools to make them. But there's a designer, and I will pull up her YouTube channel. I think it's called Kids Invent Stuff, and children can send her their inventions. And if she's able to, she like picks them at random and she actually manufactures them into working prototypes. So there was a child that designed some wings to make people social distance. So when she walked up to people, there was a sensor on them and these big, massive wings came out to block people from her path. That's cool. So Kids Invent Stuff. We'll come back onto that. I'll show you the site. The other resource that I'd like to share with you, which is a project, I don't think I've shared with this before, is the F1 in Schools primary project. So the only resources you need to be able to deliver that is cardboard. You can buy metal axles and wheels, which are really quite cheap. And you design all the car is designed on computer-aided design. It's designed on Silhouette Studio. Basically, the children have to design a chassis. They have to download a chassis, print it and assemble it, but then they design the car body using computer-aided design. So in that video, it sort of simulates how they design it. And then it's powered by a CO2 canister. So the car races down a 25-metre track at quite a speed. So that's F1 in Schools primary class challenge. Used to be the Jaguar challenge, but the Jaguar pulled out a sponsorship during COVID. I think it was planned already. And F1 now sponsor it. So it's a really good transition project because F1 in Schools runs at secondary level and university level as well. STEM learning, there's some excellent resources on there linked to engineering in the primary school. And then this resource is really fantastic. So I'm not going to try and click on this link, but the James Dyson Foundation has got something called challenge cards. So if you click on that link, it should take you to the challenge cards. You can download the challenge cards and you can print them off. And you could actually, one lady spoke about the fact that you do design and technology every day. These would be perfect for that kind of dipping your toes into different challenges. Really, really good resource. But there's also a host of videos linked to it as well. So those are the resources that I've mentioned. I am going to find that video on Kids Invent Stuff. So this is it. And I can't find the one, but basically you can see they're like totally off the wall, some of these inventions. So flamethrower helmet, sneeze activated, Daft Punk sneakers. So they're really like crazy ideas that children have come up with, and she turns those inventions into reality. I'm trying to find the one with the wings. It was absolutely awesome. Oh, let's have a look. I don't think I can search. That was it. Social distancing wings. It's quite cool. It's only a 2-minute one. Oh.
3 months after the lockdown was imposed, the Prime Minister has announced a significant relaxation of the rules in England. As coronavirus lockdown measures start to ease, many of us might be left wondering what to wear as we venture out of the house. But thankfully, one 8-year-old inventor has designed the perfect solution. A pandemic outfit like no other. Kids Invent Stuff. Brought to life by Kids Invent Stuff, Sakuko's invention features motorized wings and a hoop skirt to help you keep your personal space and to stay safe. Using ultrasonic distance sensing technology, the suit features social distancing wings which activate whenever the sensor detects someone coming into your space. Amazing. And the suit's onboard battery is charged via a built-in solar panel, making the suit safe, striking, and sustainable. As someone approaches the wearer, the wings automatically activate, ensuring the perfect level of social distancing. The height of pandemic fashion, this outfit is perfect for social occasions, shopping, household jobs, or even while exercising. It's the perfect invention for whenever you leave the house. And Sakuko's invention will definitely turn some heads and get you noticed. It's a marvel of lockdown engineering. But don't just take our word for it. Stay safe, inventors.
How incredible are these wings? A massive thank you to Sakuko for such an incredible invention idea, and a big thank you to OKDo for supporting this challenge. If you know of any kids whose invention should be brought to life, then send them to our website, which will appear on the screen below, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
But anyway, the social distancing wing I think is quite kind of current and quite a really cool invention. So yeah, has anyone got any questions about resources, any asks, anything I've not mentioned? So have a look at those resources. Obviously there's a lot for you to look at, so just pick one. If I was to pick one, I'd use my YouTube videos because they're free, and I'd go for the James Dyson Foundation challenge cards to begin with. If you feel that there's too many on there and it's overwhelming you. So what we want to look at now is look at our next session that's happening in May, and we just want to talk about what your needs are for that session. So there are a lot of sessions that I can offer, and we want to basically build a course that's bespoke to address the group's needs. So Helen has got a poll.
Yeah, I have. Do you want to talk about it before, because it'll help explain, or you want me to pop it up now?
I'll talk about it before, and then I'll tell them what they're filling in on the poll. Okay. So what we want from you is, are your training needs more about general and sort of leadership in terms of design and technology? Do you want some input? So if we go back to national curriculum, do you want input on design? So, and I'll talk about what I mean by design. Do you want input on making in design and technology, evaluating, or technical knowledge? So I'll just go through what I mean in each of those. So in terms of leadership, so we've already looked at a lot of leadership. So assessment and monitoring could be a topic area that we could look at. One area that I've not put on there is things like monitoring and monitoring the children's progress in lessons. So monitoring that DT is actually happening. So leadership is obviously how to do your role in leading DT. Design, it would be exploring strategies to communicate ideas. So teaching children how to sketch, annotate, how to do exploded views. So lots of different ways in which we can communicate, how to make models. It could be 2D computer-aided design or 3D computer-aided design. Making, general principles of making, so selecting and using a range of tools, selecting and using a range of materials, evaluate, strategies to teach evaluation and key events and individuals, And then technical knowledge is all the different areas of technical knowledge we need to teach children. Structures, mechanisms, mechanical systems, electronics, control was mentioned earlier, textiles or food. So what we've done is created a poll. The first poll is that one. So we want you to tell us which you would prefer: general, design, make, evaluate, or technical knowledge.
Yeah, so that should be on your screens now. So if you just vote in terms of what Leanne's just said. And then shall I launch the technical knowledge?
Yeah, it's really good actually. Yeah, so the technical knowledge, we want to now find out. You've actually, you know, half of you said technical knowledge. Now we want to sort of drill into what you want in terms of technical knowledge.
Okay. So this is a bit more of the detail, as Leanne said. So structures, mechanisms, electronics, control, textiles or food. What would be useful for you? Because then we can, as Leanne says, make the next session bespoke to meet your needs, and hopefully that will really help in terms of the things that you're working on at the moment, or fill there are gaps. We won't be able to cover everything, unfortunately, will we, Leanne? But
no, I'll try.
That's it. I think everybody's responded, so I'll just share those results there. So we'll have a look at those. It looks like mechanisms is a favourite.
Yeah, and control. Yeah, brilliant, perfect.
Excellent. Thank you.
So, any questions? And there's my details if you want my details. But otherwise, I'm here now to answer any questions. I wanted to leave a bit of time because we had some questions at the beginning. So I will share an example of a risk assessment. But has anyone got any further questions that they want to ask?
What I'll do is I'll send an email out after the course with some information about how you can access the Dropbox resources and the recording from this webinar. So you'll be able to get all of those details, and there will be a password on that one. Most of your schools will have signed up to the Gateway website, so you'll have your own area on that. So you'll be able to access all of the resources from that website. So I'll send you an email with how you can get hold of, how you can access those things. What I will do is I'll just post in the chat a link to our feedback form. So please do give us your feedback in terms of the session today. And you can also give any more detail if there are any aspects of design and technology that you want us to focus on during the next session. That'll be really helpful. Obviously, it's been a shame that we've not been able to do the practical things that we did last year as we've been online today. And hopefully we'll be able to sort of make up the lost ground in terms of that at the session in May. Colleagues just asked, do any of the slides list all the online resources you've discussed? Leanne, I think most of the slides, aren't they?
So yeah, I saved that as a PDF yesterday, so they should all be on there, the links. Whether the links are live, if I haven't pressed return, but you can copy and paste the information into your Internet Explorer. But yeah, but was the one that I discussed that wasn't on there actually? No, I don't think there was. I think I included all of them. But if there's anyone that is not on there afterwards, just drop me an email and I'll send it you.
So if colleagues have got any questions, please do stay on, and Leanne and I will be around for a little while now. If not, please click on the feedback form link to give us your feedback. The next session, as we say, is taking place on the 18th of May, and we're hoping that that's going to be face-to-face as a half-day session, and we'll send you information, obviously an email to remind you and to give you further details about that beforehand. But if you've got any questions in the meantime, please do get in touch. As I say, I'll send a follow-up email within the next couple of days with access to the recording and to the slides, the Dropbox, the resources there. So please do look out for that. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for engaging. I hope you found the session useful. Thank you ever so much for Leanne being with us and sharing your knowledge and all of the information that you've got at your fingertips. Looking forward to seeing you on Oak Academy and being able to share some of your teaching within our classrooms as well. So that'll be great. Thanks ever so much, colleagues, and we'll see you again soon.